Welcome to Taiwan Talks. I'm Albert Chiu. In the aftermath of the pandemic, nations are engaging in intense competition for talents. Confronting this global battle, Taiwan has launched the International Talent Office. What specific advantages does Taiwan possess, and what are the pivotal elements of the government's strategy to attract foreign talents? Joining us today are Sana Hashmi, Taiwan-Asia Exchange Foundation Postdoctoral Fellow, and Donovan Smith, political analyst specializing in Taiwanese politics. A very warm welcome to both on the show. Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen specifically mentioned that the goal of the Talent Office is to attract 56,000 international talents to Taiwan, in addition to the existing 6,500 holders of the Employment Gold Card, to help foreign professionals settle and thrive in Taiwan. So Sana, maybe Sana first. So do you hold the Taiwan's employment gold card?
I do have gold card, and I have had gold card for the past 2 years now.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And my experience with gold card has been very good because I was already here before applying for gold card. I was on resident visa, but then I was already having issues with visa. It was a problem every year, but I think with gold card, at least that problem has gone away, and I can now easily focus on my work.
Mm-hmm. So Sana, as a scholar with the Taiwan-Asia Exchange Foundation, which is a current institute, so how do you perceive Taiwan's advantages in attracting talents in Asia compared to, say, countries like Singapore or South Korea, other countries in Asia?
I think it's not a very good idea to compare Taiwan's experiences with countries such as Hong Kong, South Korea and other places, because the program for attracting talent has been existing there in these countries for a very, very long time, at least for decades. Taiwan has just started doing this since 2018, and then there was pandemic. A lot of people couldn't come even with the gold card. So it's a fairly recent initiative, but I feel that despite this being the latest and very, very recent initiative, Taiwan has been able to make strides in the field of attracting foreign talent, specifically via the gold card way. Now there are more than 8,500 gold card holders from all over the world. Of course, the first source of gold carders is from the US, and there is a lot of awareness about what are the initiatives, what are the policies for visa among the Americans. But now the focus is also getting talent from countries such as India, other countries, South Asia and Southeast Asia. So this was not the focus of previous governments in Taiwan. Mm-hmm. So I think this is one of the major outcomes of this gold card initiative.
Mm-hmm. So what about you, Donovan, as a international friends of Taiwan, been living here for more than 3 decades? You certainly in this privileged position to say something good or bad about Taiwan in terms of attracting international talents.
Well, for attracting international talent, as Sana noted, this is still a relatively new thing. Up until quite recently, it was actually quite difficult to get any kind of visa, in fact. It was really only in this century that getting any sort of visa or residency here became really possible. Prior to that, it was almost impossible.
What was that like prior to that?
Well, at the time, the number of people who could qualify was very limited and had very narrow paths. So in the 1990s, what you ended up having is a situation where foreigners would live here and then extend their visas or fly to Hong Kong every 2 months.
Out and in again?
Yeah.
Okay.
And certain countries, for example, the United States, had multiple entry visas, which lasted for 5 years. So in those days, you'd go back in and out. But then they started make it a little bit easier to actually qualify for work visas, sort of in the late 90s, early 2000s. And so that's when I made the switch over, when it became possible to do so.
So you know, kind of go back to my original question. So how would you evaluate Taiwan's strength in attracting the foreign talents from other countries?
I think a lot of it will depend on field, the individual field that the person has a talent in or knowledge in. For certain industries, Taiwan has a definite need. For example, in the semiconductor, the entire supply chain, and people tend to focus on just TSMC, but there's hundreds of companies involved in the entire supply chain. Right. There are also foreign employers and local employers. Now, you read about some of, for example, because of the Arizona plant that TSMC is building, they've brought out a bunch of engineers from the United States and other countries to do training at TSMC, and they have complained a lot about the style of management and the way that it operates. But on the other hand, there are a lot of companies here locally that are foreign and work more on foreign styles of management and personnel management. And so they often come and they're happy with their salaries, happy with the work life. So it will kind of depend on who does the hiring and in what industry.
I think that's a great point, because people mention about the strength of companies, semiconductor companies, especially like TSMC, but also on the other hand, talk about the weakness of TSMC in terms of managing those foreign employees, because now we know that the labor here in Taiwan is still pretty intensive, right? You work like 16 hours a day or even 17 hours a day if there's a need to do so, and you cannot complain. But this is definitely not a culture in the United States and also in other advanced democracies in Europe. So would you say that Taiwan should continue its own path without considering taking into account those international standards, so to speak, for labor? Or you think that we should kind of adjust a bit to make our company more susceptible to the international labor force?
Well, considering the declining birth rate, I really kind of feel like Taiwan is running out of options. Now, there are a lot of, they're bringing in now a lot of engineers from the Philippines, India, and they're bringing in now also from other countries who have also yet other different work styles. So they're going to have to, in some ways, they're going to have to adapt as they bring in more of these people. There's a gap of tens of thousands. I believe the last I saw was something like 50 to 100,000 people in just the semiconductor industry alone. And that doesn't include the hospitality industry and a whole other range. And with the declining birth rate, more and more people are going to have to be brought in. But so far in this, the presidential campaign, as far as I've noticed, only Lai Ching-te has addressed this significantly.
Okay, what about you, Sana? You're from India, and you are quite familiar with how work environment could be busy, like the one in Taiwan. So would you say that, as Donovan suggested, that there's no choice for Taiwanese left anymore, that we really have to make our working environment more internationally friendly to international talents like you?
I definitely agree. There is a lot of scope for improvement, and specifically when the quality of life is so expensive in Taiwan, but salaries are relatively lower. It's not comparable. So I would say that it depends on the person who you're asking this question. If someone is coming from Southeast Asia, India, we have similar work culture, we have similar work hours and somewhat similar salaries. But I do believe that if Taiwan is really looking to attract a number of people in different fields, very important that you have competitive salaries. I don't think that issue has been taken care of, or even in the presidential campaign, as Donovan also said, this is something that is not being taken seriously by any of the candidates. We are just less than 2 months away from election. So I think this is an issue if you really address these issues, because there are a lot of foreigners who come here and make Taiwan their home and even apply for citizenship. And you have to really make this path much easier for the foreigners who really want to make Taiwan their home. And then definitely there is declining birth rate. Taiwan is definitely promoting interracial marriages, but then there are no policies or initiatives that have been taken to secure the interest of people who are willing to make Taiwan their home.
Okay, now let's look at other Asian countries' policy for attracting professional talents. In Hong Kong, top talent pass scheme, high earners and top university graduates are eligible to work. Singapore's One Pass has a lower salary threshold. Japan's J-Skip and J-Find visas cater to skilled professionals and top graduates, respectively. Taiwan offers employment card, gold card, as we mentioned, also tax perks and easier residency for international talents. So after we saw the graph, are there any practice that Taiwan could learn from or adopt from those countries' experience? Maybe Sana?
I think the policy is already in place, and I feel that I would talk about gold card briefly here. One of the major I would say, good policy about Gold Card is that there is open work permit. Because if someone is coming through the regular work permit, they are attached to their employers, and sometimes it becomes very difficult to change employer. So when you have Gold Card, there is open work permit. You are not attached to a specific, a particular employer. So I do believe that the policies are in place, but there is not a lot of awareness about these policies, specifically among people who are from, for example, India or Southeast Asia. So I do believe that there is some kind of saturation from getting talent from US, EU. Now you have to focus on countries such as India, because the world is looking towards India and Vietnam. There are a lot of engineers, there are a lot of scientists, and Taiwan is definitely looking at technological advancement. So you also need to get people from India and from Southeast Asia. So definitely policies are there. So I do think that what they need to do is, of course, I've already talked about the need to increase salary so that there is some kind of motivation for these people to move to Taiwan. Then apart from that, there needs to be more awareness. Gold Card Office has been putting in a lot of effort to generate awareness about Gold Card and visa policies in countries such as US and Australia. They have plans to go to countries such as India and Vietnam, but I do feel that their outreach is a little slower.
All right, the packages from different countries, as we just saw, are important. But as Donovan earlier mentioned, that as the world tries to recover economically post-pandemic, it faces issues like retirement of the baby boomer generation, population aging, decline birth rates. All of them are, very salient in Taiwan, leading to the severe labor shortage in various industries. So, Donovan, do you believe that the level of salaries in Taiwan, although you've been living in Taiwan for too long, but what's your evaluation of the salary structure in Taiwan? Do you see any kind of room for improvements in the future in terms of the overall raise of the salary?
Well, I mean, I think Sana addressed this quite well. The salaries are generally, by international standards, considered somewhat low. Now, Taiwan has a lot going for it. It's National Health Service, the people are friendly, it's a beautiful country, but salaries are kind of a sticking point. And as also, as Sana noted, I think awareness of Taiwan as a employment destination is also lacking. But I do think that what's going to happen is that as Taiwan, because this is not really set by the government, they set the minimum wage, but these aren't minimum wage jobs. So they're set by the private sector, and if they start losing talent to these other countries, they're going to have to step up and compete. They're not going to have a choice. So there is a lot of room for improvement, but there may need to be a cultural and mental shift within management, within these private sector companies, or they're just going to have to react to the pressure. If they're smart, they'll be proactive and not reactive, but at the end of the day, they may end up having to do it in a reactive sense, just to keep talent.
So with Taiwan and India set to sign an MOU, bringing up to 100,000 Indian workers to Taiwanese factories, farms, and hospitals. That's actually sensational news in Taiwan. What benefits do these workers bring to the economic development of both countries, Taiwan and India?
I think this agreement is definitely going to be landmark agreement, and the negotiations have been on for a couple of years, and if it gets signed, this would be the very first time that blue collars worker would be coming to Taiwan from India. Till now we have seen that we have primarily blue collar workers from Southeast Asia. I think it has its own advantages because definitely there is labor shortage in Taiwan, and it's definitely going to help Taiwan in a significant way, but there are some structural challenges as well. And then I'm seeing some news in local language that how Taiwanese are talking about blue collars working coming from India. So there's a lot of, I would say, I was deeply shocked by seeing the racist comments about blue collars worker in India. So I do feel that while Taiwanese government has been trying to boost relationship with India, and it's a way to boost people to people ties, it is going to, we are going to also see perhaps the restarting of the direct flight between India and Taiwan that has been inactive since 2020. So of course there are tangible benefits of this, but I do believe that before we do this, we also have to address structural challenges. We have to generate more awareness about that, and we need to have perhaps some kind of cordial relationship between the people of India and Taiwan. Till now what I have seen that there's a lot of warmth between the people of India and Taiwan. But of course, towards the Southeast Asian workers as well, we have seen some level of racism and some level of discrimination. So I'm not sure if this is going to happen towards Indian workers as well. If this happens, I feel that this is definitely going to dent India-Taiwan relationship, and that would be a blow to the progress that has been made in the past few years. So I do feel that before we do this, there is a lot of work that Taiwanese and both Indian side need to do with respect to the acceptability of blue-collar workers from India to Taiwan.
Well, I think you raised a great point that there are some racially unfriendly statements from the Taiwanese side. But also, on the other hand, Taiwanese people are used to the service provided by immigrant laborers from, say, Vietnam or even Indonesia, right? So India might be, the blue-collar workers from India might be new to the people of this island. So maybe education is important, as you would suggest, but could you kind of put forward a more concrete plan as you can suggest to the country to do before everything started?
Yeah, I think it has to come from the top. I think the government needs to talk about it if this is a prevalent view among the people. I'm not saying, as Donovan said, that the warmth of people in Taiwan is one of the USPs of the country. And I have seen that firsthand living in Taiwan for the past 4 years. I have been the beneficiary of the warmth and hospitality of Taiwan. So I do feel that it has to come from the top, it has to come from the government. There needs to be guidelines, and there needs to be more awareness about how these workers are going to help Taiwan. There needs to be perhaps laying out of the facts and figures that how Taiwan is dealing with the issue of labor shortage, and workers who are coming from outside are not going to take away the jobs of the local people. They're only going to aid the demographic problem and the labor shortage problem. So I feel that the government has to speak up if it becomes a problem.
One quick follow-up for you still, Sana, is that would you remind the people of Taiwan regarding the characteristic or traits of those blue-collar workers from India? How would they like to work in Taiwan? For example, in terms of work hours, in terms of vacation, in terms of salary. I mean, what do we need to notice?
And then I think there is not a lot of expectations from India. As I said, the level of salary is somewhat similar to Taiwan as well. And I feel that like Taiwanese Indians are also very friendly. So I don't think there should be any issue with respect to income, with respect to how they are coexisting peacefully. So I do feel that if everything goes well, it will definitely be leading towards more advancement in people-to-people relationship, because as of now we are just 5,000 Indians and half of them are just students. That means it's a mobile population. So the residents from India are about 2,500, which is nothing when you see the population of India. So we definitely need to have more Indians so that we could talk about strengthening people-to-people ties. We could have more awareness about India, and you have to, and I feel that Taiwan really needs to look towards India and need to establish relationship with India meaningfully. And one of the significant ways of doing it perhaps is through people. So definitely if there are more number of Indians in Taiwan, there would be more awareness about Taiwan and there would be more support for Taiwan from India.
And when this group of the Indian blue-collar workers come to Taiwan, they work here, their language could be in English?
I think their language would definitely be a problem, but I do feel that Indians learn quickly, and if there is willingness and if there are proper resources, that won't be an issue anymore.
And they are willing to learn Chinese as well, pick up Chinese.
I think Indians could learn very, very quickly.
Okay, that's good. So Donovan, what's your observation of this MOU that we see a potential for another immigrants, workers from South Asia, India?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good thing. I mean, so far it's primarily been Thailand, Vietnam, Indonesia, and the Philippines. I think it's nice that Taiwan is expanding to a different country, and I think Sana pretty much covered all the main points. It's very important to have these people-to-people contacts because I think that India and Taiwan have a lot. They're very mutually complementary economically. India is producing, for example, a lot of engineers. Taiwan is short of them. India is strong in software, Taiwan is strong in hardware.
Right.
Now, that's not the blue-collar workers, but blue-collar workers also do help build these person-to-person ties and spread awareness of Taiwan as an employment destination, which I think was what Sana was getting to. So this, I think, is a good step forward, and I think that there's a lot of potential in the relationship between India and Taiwan, and so I'm very strongly in favor of this. I think this is quite a good development.
Mm-hmm. Sana, does India also have the experience of letting those blue-collar workers, Indian people, to work overseas in different countries other than Taiwan? Could you share those examples with us?
I think Indians are, there are several blue-collar workers from India to countries such as several Middle Eastern countries, specifically from Kerala, that's a southern state, and also to Western countries as well. And now recently we heard that even Israel is asking for an MOU, similar MOU that Taiwan is going to sign, and they are demanding 100,000 blue-collar workers because of the conflict that is going on. So definitely Indians have been looking towards Western countries and looking towards Middle Eastern countries, and the salaries even for blue-collar workers are pretty high in these countries. So blue-collar workers in India definitely have more experience in comparison to other countries, I would say, in terms of quantity in blue-collar work in countries such as Singapore as well, I would say, Southeast Asia. So definitely I won't say, of course, there would be cultural barriers, there would be some difficulties in the beginning, because Taiwan is definitely a new destination. Even when you think about even white-collar workers, I would say, not a lot of people are aware about Taiwan as a place for white-collar workers. And this is one of the reasons why we have just a few Indians who are doing white-collar jobs in Taiwan. So definitely I feel that there's a lot of scope, but there is lack of awareness.
Okay, this all comes back to the the point of attraction for international talents in Taiwan. Despite Taiwan's prominent position in semiconductor manufacturing, with international corporations investing over 6.1 billion USD, retaining talents, of course, is crucial. So do you think Taiwan can successfully attract foreign talents in semiconductor manufacturing? If so, how?
I do think that they're going to need to do more, as Sana noted. I think they're going to need to put a little bit more effort and energy into making awareness of Taiwan as a destination, reaching out to universities and campuses, and conducting exchanges with the kinds of universities that produce the kinds of graduates that they're going to need, and build relationships with universities around the world to help bring them these people in seamlessly, or as seamlessly as possible. So I think that Taiwan is going down this path already and has had some success with it. But I think it's going to need to lean into it much harder, considering the rate at which the birth rate has declined very dramatically in the last 5-10 years. Yeah.
Okay, Sana and Donovan, thank you for the participation. Okay, thanks. We've talked about the strategy of Taiwan's International Talent Office, exploring both its strengths and weaknesses. Our guest also highlighted specific areas where Taiwan needs to improve to attract more international talents. Did you enjoy our show? Leave us a message and subscribe to Taiwan Talks. See you soon.